The quantity of people needed to decarbonise our domestic sector is huge. Across the country, we need to decarbonise 5 homes a minute between now and 2050 in order to reach our carbon targets. And finally, we want to support businesses on the road to net zero by providing a consistent, clear and trustworthy source of information backed up with funding support. This is why we've recently submitted bids to the government's Community Renewal Fund. New Anglia LEP and partners have a vision for rapid decarbonisation, and we want that. And we know that community energy has a big part to play in that. The challenge is massive, but if we all own it, we can achieve it. The potential for community energy and parish council-led activity in this space is significant, and we're keen to do everything we can to collectively help you get there. I know we're going to have a meaningful debate in this space today, and I hope we can find a positive way forward to help us accelerate the delivery of clean local energy projects across Norfolk and Suffolk.
Unmute yourself and thank.
Thank you, Ellen. Wonderful. And so that sets the scene, and it's great to hear from New Anglia LEP being so supportive to the community energy sector. There are community energy groups thriving across the UK and have been for the last 10, 15 years. And we really want to try and support that network to grow in East Anglia. So and we're very lucky that we've got Emma Bridge, who's got time to join us from her very busy schedule from Community Energy England, the Chief Exec. So I've got her presentation, and so I welcome Emma while I just share my screen, Emma, with the presentation.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ollie, and great, Ellen, to hear the level of ambition as well across Norfolk and Suffolk. It's brilliant. So whilst Ollie finds my slides, just as a bit of background, so Community Energy England, we act as the voice for community energy sector. We represent just over 270 organisations across public, private and community sectors, and also a wide range of different networks and coalitions. So Ollie, if you can move to the next one. I've done that, so on to the next one. Brilliant, thank you. So I won't spend too long on this slide, but this is some data from, sorry, Ollie, we'll do a couple of seconds. So this is from our most recent State of the Sector research, which shows data up to the end of 2019. And we are actually about to publish next month or more recent research, so do look out for that. But what I wanted to do is just really kind of highlight the breadth of what community energy undertakes and really the broad impact that it has as well. So in terms of some of the trends we've seen recently, one of the trends is scale and replicability. So still a lot of focus around electricity generation, but we're seeing bigger projects now and kind of that replicability more across the country as well. And with a mix of technologies really to make them more efficient. So we're seeing more solar PV being paired with battery storage and that sort of thing. Innovation is another big trend. We've heard from many quarters, not least the Climate Change Committee, that behaviour change and public engagement are essential for the majority of actions needed for us to reach net zero. So there's an increasingly important role for communities to be driving that innovation and testing new approaches to energy efficiency, demand reduction, storage, community electric vehicles, but not just technological innovation, social innovation as well. So that's partnerships, engagement, business and funding models. And one thing that's not on this slide that is increasingly important are heat projects as well. And there's some really interesting heat projects coming through, particularly through the Rural Community Energy Fund, which Don Taylor will talk about later. The next one, please, Ollie. This just shows the spread of community energy organisations across the country. You will see much more towards the south and the west. And actually, if you show projects rather than organisations, that's even more stark. But really, events like this today and those regional partnerships are so important, and why Community Energy England is really keen on supporting areas like the East to make sure that we drive the community energy right across the country. The other thing from this slide is the breadth of the networks. So you'll see from only 300 community energy organisations reached in 2019, 93,000 community members. That reach and that impact is really, really broad. So next one, please, Ollie. And we have a huge ambition in the sector to do more. So research last year found that with the right support, community energy could grow by up to 20 times, not only helping to create an energy system that's democratic, decentralised and decarbonised, but also transforming how we live and work. With some of the core components of that transformation is every parish, town and city being able to engage in community energy, policy and planning that is transparent and accountable, and ensuring that social justice and equity is at its core. So moving on to opportunities. There are undoubtedly challenges, but there are also so many opportunities. So we've got the climate talks in Glasgow in November, and that's causing an increasing interest from the public and also increasing pressure on the UK government to really show leadership around this agenda. So some of the things to look out for over the next few months are funding opportunities. So key ones will be Climate Coalition, National Lottery and government will be launching funding to help you run events and do climate action in the run up to and during COP, Community Energy Fortnight in June, and Great Big Green Week in September. If you want to do campaigning, we've got one of the biggest opportunities to influence government policy on community energy that we've had in a long time. So the Environmental Audit Committee just recently published some recommendations to government around community energy, and government's got till the 7th of June to respond to that. So if you follow that link, it shows you more on what you can do around supporting that lobbying. Local authority climate declarations, councils, parish councils, local authorities are really stepping up, but can't do it alone. There's a huge opportunity there for communities, parishes, local authorities, LEPs to all work together. And community energy can bring opportunities through being that trusted intermediary to bring people together, leveraging funding through things like community shares, and also generating revenue for other activities in the local area. And most of the exciting projects coming out are around the partnerships and collaboration, such things with tech companies, business, NHS, unis, local authorities, and so on. So by all working together, that's where most of the exciting impact is coming from. I've talked about the importance of regional activity networks, and I can't overestimate the importance of peer learning and mentoring. So Ollie's going to talk about community energy pathways, but also look at case studies, look at videos, come to events like this, and of course join CEE. So as well as being part of a strong network, the more people we represent, the stronger our voices. I won't go through this slide, but this will be circulated to you afterwards. So there's links there to just some of the information that's out there. But also have a look at all the information on the people's websites that are speaking here today as well. So just to finish on my last slide, whatever your level of knowledge, enthusiasm, whatever time you have, there is a way you can get involved. That could be investing, campaigning, building a project, or engaging people. Let's all work together through this event and beyond to create an energy system that is democratic, decentralised and decarbonised, and where people are at the heart of the transition. Thank you, Ollie.
Thank you very much, Emma. And I'll just carry on about Community Energy South. So whereas Community Energy England look at national perspective, we established Community Energy South in 2013 following a peer mentoring programme where we were mentoring new groups. And we look to work with Community Energy England and our members across the South East to be the voice for the sector across the region. Excuse me, capacity build, so supporting community energy groups to work together and cross-fertilise that we're stronger together, and around innovation and new business models. And really just to simplify the pathway to being your own community energy group. So this is what the map of community energy looks like. We've got Norwich Community Energy up in Norwich, obviously, but we'd like to create a network in East Anglia that supports the community energy sector. And we started in the southeast, down around Sussex and Kent in 2013, starting a mentoring programme. Those groups now employ over 15 full-time staff, have £15 million of projects, and over 20 megawatts of projects in total. So, you know, it works, providing a support network, and this is what we're all about. I'm just running a bit quick. So what we do is we try and build relationships for the sector, for communities to work, so that we make it a lot easier for people, sort of water companies with UK power networks, the gas companies and the European schemes and the local authorities. Community energy solar schools are very easy, and you can find out, or they're not easy, but community energy sector has found a solution for them. And we've got 60,000 kids in the southeast that go to school where community solar is in place. As Emma said, heat projects are really starting to kick off, especially in rural areas on oil, come off oil onto electric. And I'll share these slides, but there are lots of options, you know, from heat, energy, car sharing schemes, setting up a community benefit society alongside a parish council can be really beneficial, but also creating a network across a region so that you can make it easier. So do get in touch with Community Energy South. We have monthly newsletters, regular webinars and masterclasses on the community energy sector. So with that, I will stop sharing and just see if we can capture any questions.
I've just been having a look for questions. I haven't seen any yet. Lots of interesting things. Is there anyone here who has a question? Just, I would suggest you physically raise your hand. Actually, I need to.
Yeah, John Pennell, I can see.
Hello, I'm from Norfolk, and I see there's one or two from here, which is delightful. One of my concerns is that parishes and town councils in particular are enablers as much as doers. And therefore we need to attack this quite differently with parishes and in a way. But one of the things that's missing from this is we are talking about creating energy, and the partnerships that I've talked to already concentrate a lot on creating energy, but actually reduction of energy use by the wise use of heat pumps is an incredible way forward, because it is a much, if you replaced all the overnight storage heaters with proper systems, including community systems, then we could go much further along this route, because they don't just work in the summer like solar or when the wind is blowing, when they work 24/7, and they really are a superb thing. And I'd like to see this introduced as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, John. And exactly that. So we've got a project that was in my slide called Communiheat that is looking at an energy plan for a rural community. And as well as generation, you're right, it's very important about sharing awareness and embedding sort of energy champions in our communities to give people advice, because you can bet your bottom dollar what's available now will be different in a year's time, and to keep up with that change, like change of the feed-in tariff and things like that. But looking at heat pumps and electric heating is really fundamental, and making it and get the energy usage down as well as generating renewable energy. So thank you.
We have quite another question from Keith Dickerson about when will battery storage become economic, which is, I don't know if you can predict future markets, or if you or Emma have anything you want to say about the energy storage market. I might be able to contribute something to that, actually.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, keep on watching this market, and there are schemes. And my recommendation to parishes and communities at the moment is be prepared. So be prepared. If you are interested in batteries, engage your community in renewables and batteries, and get them as prepared as possible, because the market will become more sort of efficient for batteries, and energy companies are starting to provide them through their energy bills and things like that, providers. So the scheme, they will get there, they will become a lot more efficient.
Okay, so Councillor Susan Ager is in Essex and wants to know why we're not working with Essex, and actually we have been working with Essex. Given, I don't know if you want to say a couple of things about that, because there's also a question about a right to community energy from a solar farm.
Yeah, Susan, we are running a community energy mentoring program in Essex. So if I drop my email into the email box now, just email me and I will put you in touch with the Pathways team, Community Energy Pathways team for Essex.
And so then Tony Fittock has his hand raised. So Tony, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, it's just a general one, really. Previous participant mentioned about energy savings, and I'm just curious. I hear a lot about heat pumps and all of the technology that we can employ, but one of the simplest ways that we can save energy is by turning things off. Now, I remember sort of many years ago when there was a coal shortage, there was a big drive for people to reduce energy use, and it was quite successful. But in rural communities, if you were to drive round, you'll see huge numbers of properties with multiple porch lights on all the way through the night. So I'm just wondering if there is any way of gathering data, you know, parish level, to estimate what could be saved by just simple basic behavioural changes in things like turning off porch lights and electricity in general when it's not being used.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Good question. So there is information. You can actually go to UK Power Networks and find out about your energy usage for your community. Again, email me about it. But and set up an event in your community about energy saving and access, specialists to come along and talk about how to reduce your energy usage. It's the best way to do it. Once you start informing your community, they can make really positive change. So I think and there are specialists around that we can connect you to. Good. So thank you very much. Good questions. Keep on putting them in the chat. I'm going to now pass on to our next speaker, which is John Taylor from the Regional Energy Hub, to talk about the Rural Community Energy Fund and some project examples.
Great, thanks, Ollie. Am I okay to share slides as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Oh yeah, there we go.
John, remind you that these are quick fire sessions.
Yep.
Thank you.
You've got 3 minutes now.
Okay. So I'm John Taylor. I'm work for the Greater South East Energy Hub, and I actually used to work for quite a long time in Suffolk, so I know Suffolk and Norfolk very well, and hopefully a few people on this call. We now manage something called the Rural Community Energy Fund. This is a BEIS grant programme specifically designed to support the development of rural community-led and community-owned energy projects across England. So we have 2 forms of grants available. The first is a stage 1 feasibility grant of up to £40,000. This is available for you to bring in, if you're a group of volunteers, you can bring in a professional consultant to advise you on the viability of various forms of renewable energy technology, both electricity generation and renewable heat and efficiency, and smart grids are all covered. If that then proves to be viable, there's then a follow-on grant of up to £100,000 to help you progress that project through getting things like planning permission, developing the business case for investment, setting up a social enterprise. If you're a parish council, you then may want to set up an extra company for your village to manage the project. That can be covered with that. And then it's basically up to the point where you're ready to start raising investment for the project. Just by the way, that picture there is a picture of Nayland School on the Essex and Suffolk border, which is actually one of the first community energy projects in the whole of England. It was installed back in 2011 when the feed-in tariff first got introduced. So we can do it here in East Anglia. But yeah, that's a good example there. And I know Keith and Kelsale have also done similar projects as well. So these are the list of eligible organisations who can apply to the Rural Community Energy Fund. So town and parish councils can lead a stage 1 application, but generally the projects tend to get then converted into a community benefit society or one of the other legal structures. Technologies covered again. Yeah, so certainly electricity generation, wind power, solar, hydropower. There's a picture there of a hydro turbine being lifted into the mill at Flatford in the Dedham Vale. So if it can work there, it can work pretty much anywhere. Also, the heating side, we've got projects looking at getting people off heating oil and onto either local biomass fuel supplies or heat pumps that were mentioned earlier at a whole village scale, as well as individual properties, and also how these technologies integrate into local smart grids. So using battery systems and then selling the flexibility as well to the local grid operators to get extra revenue streams to make the projects stack up on a commercial basis. So a couple of the projects we've funded to date, we've been running for 2 years now. One is a 1 to 2 megawatt solar farm in Berkshire. So it's charity owned land, historically linked with a parish kind of fuel core charity. Now they're looking at getting an income stream from solar power generation to then support their charitable purposes. We supported Forest Row and Barkham in East Sussex to look at the options for doing community financed heat pump retrofits for villages. That's very interesting. Another project we supported with some more advanced funding was the Cookmere Community Solar Farm in Sussex, again, part of Ollie's Riding Sunbeam programme. So where it's difficult to connect a solar farm to the electricity grid for various reasons, the alternative was to sell the power to the railways to power the trains. So there's some very innovative approaches there. And again, on the renewable heat side, we've had several applications for villages looking to do a village scale heat network based on ground source heat pump technology. So yeah, it's been seen examples in Sussex. There's been Swaffham Prior village in Cambridgeshire, which is just over the border from Newmarket. So there's plenty of opportunities in East Anglia, Norfolk and Suffolk for certainly solar and renewable heat, I would say. Just one extra point about, do we have a right to existing commercial solar as well? There are community groups that have actually acquired commercially developed solar farms as well. So you don't always have to start from scratch and do your own. It is possible to acquire ones that already exist or work with commercial developers that are putting projects through the planning process at the moment. This is an example of one in Oxfordshire where right now they've got planning permission for a 19 megawatt solar farm, and then the commercial developer handed the rights to develop and own it to the community energy group. So there's lots of ways that the kind of community sector to partner with communities as well. Yeah, we'll be running a workshop later on this to go into a bit more detail, but there's the details as well.
Thank you very much, John. That's wonderful. So great to hear. So the Regional Energy Hub is there to support the energy sector, and the Rural Community Energy Fund is a funding mechanism for projects to bring in specialists. So going on, our next speaker is Aurore Julien from University of East London. Aurore, are you there?
Yes, hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ollie. So my name is Aurore Julien. I am research manager for the Eastern New Energy Project, which I think you've seen our logo here and there. We are a ERDF funded project. And through the project, we provide support to a range of organizations in order for them to decarbonize. So I work for the University of East London in a group which is called the Sustainability Research Institute. And we have various specialisms around sustainability issues, including, I'm a building energy specialist originally, and we have ecologists, people that are experts in carbon accountancy. We also have people that are experts in environmental behavior. Behavior has been also pointed out by various people, like, for example, Emma, as being very important. We have ecologists, social scientists, etc. So, and the project as a whole, the Eastern New Energy Project, which the University of London, of East London is leading, has over 20 partners that we're working with. And that includes energy, utility, infrastructure specialists, GIS specialists. We have electric vehicle specialists, etc. Also data specialists. So a wide range of experts which can help in this sort of in supporting the organizations we support. So as part of the new Eastern New Energy Project, of course, and in terms of the area, we are covering Hertfordshire, Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire, and some parts of Essex as well. And as part of the Eastern New Energy Project, we, as I said, helping organizations to decarbonize. We have a range of projects, some in relation to zero carbon housing, some in relation to community energy, and also data management, energy data management, for example. And so we want to work with community groups and parishes and collaborate together to implement a rapid decarbonization project, and in particular net zero action plans, because we're aware those are gaining importance. So we can do a range of things to support. I mean, there's obviously the technical things we can do, like reviewing tools that are available or helping understanding carbon emissions, but more strategically, we can help establishing a strategy for decarbonization. And we also are able to understand barriers that might be experienced in that path. So we're interested also in getting in touch with parishes and community groups that are interested in ways to capture carbon. So we'd like to collaborate with them and develop action plans, for example, helping through tree planting, peat bog restoration or paludiculture, etc. So we have, again, a team of experts in this area. We have people that know about nature-based solutions. We also have our GIS specialists that can help identify areas. Finally, we would like to work with district council, for example, and as many as parishes as possible within that area, because there might be, so in order to investigate the feasibility of decarbonizing whole areas. Of course, there's a strength in number, which and there's benefits in working in a group effectively. Now, so to come back to the earlier point, there's about 230 councils which have declared a climate emergency. And so this is really the start of a long journey. Just declaring a state of, a climate emergency is only the first step. And so we feel that as a regional project, and because of the range of expertise we have, we can help bring together groups in order to share knowledge and resources and work together. So yes, so we'd like for you to get in touch with us. I will put my email address into the chat. We obviously, we also have a website. I will also put that into the chat. You can Google us. We are Eastern New Energy. And if you Google Eastern New Energy, University of East London, you will find us. Do get in touch. We are really waiting and looking forward to hear from you. Thank you, Ollie. I think that's
super.
Me.
Thank you, Aurora.
You're very welcome.
And so if you put that information in the chat,
I will do now.
Some fantastic points coming through in the chat, which we'll try and get to in the Q&A session. So next we're going to hear from Norfolk-based Norwich Community Solar and Nigel Hargreaves. Nigel.
Thanks, Ollie. Good morning, everyone. So just to dive straight in, as time's limited, I'm the chair of Norwich Community Solar. My name's Nigel Hargreaves. Just a few things about Norwich Community Solar for people who may have overlooked our existence. It's not for want of being around. We've been here since 2017. We're a community benefit society. As of this spring, we had 84 paid up members, over 117 supporters, and a following of over 500 on our Facebook group. So we have a significant presence in Norfolk. And our management team, I realised this morning, has probably got over 200 man-years of experience in energy systems, markets, decarbonisation, finance, all the necessary ingredients that would be required to properly assess and implement clean energy projects. There's a few of the statistics there, but we also are made up of various key organisations in the area. Across the bottom you can see the companies involved. The sort of thing that I want to really focus on, though, is what we can offer to Norfolk, which is our focus scope, even though we're based in Norwich. We want to offer advice, opportunities to fund and install clean energy solutions. It's not just about solar, but solar, being the world's greatest energy source, is our primary interest, and we would help to identify opportunities that businesses or parishes or councils would come to us with in order to make a successful and the key thing is economically viable solution to their issues. So we'll work with EV charging requirements, for instance, anything that demands electricity, and we'll also help with pathway finding if we're invited to, with local area energy planning and policy. And the idea is to keep it local, to sustain the local economy as much as to decarbonise. Some of the opportunities that we believe are out there, which hitherto we've posed about 20 project proposals to different organisations around Norfolk. We've spoken to all the key players, but so far we've been unsuccessful in getting a project off the ground, which I can tell you more about offline if you like, but for the purposes of this presentation, our primary objective, as I've already said, is to develop local community resilience, benefiting the economy and the environment, as well as to decarbonise. The best opportunities under current market restrictions are for the electricity generated to be used locally or on site. Excess can be exported or stored for other purposes, which I won't go into detail, but it's obvious that it can be fed back into the building if the building requires energy at night, for instance, and you have a battery storage solution, or it can be exported or used for charging vehicles. Considerations that we find we come up against are obviously the scale of the scheme. To make it economically viable, we're probably interested in schemes that are community funded of around 75 kilowatts or above. The procurement framework is often a barrier to this if we want to help larger organisations who have already got established procurement frameworks, whether or not they're using them fully. We find that that needs to change in order to give us access to the projects that are probably around 100 kilowatts or less that the large corporate organisation, the energy providers, are not interested in, but are numerous in their availability across Norfolk at least. I'm thinking of organisations like Anglian Water, for instance. Perhaps some of the local councils and district and county council as well have this kind of project which isn't being addressed due to its procurement framework at the local level. Tariffs and margins to recoup the costs are extremely important for anyone who's investing in this to realise that they're actually going to recoup their investment over perhaps 8 to 10, 12 years, and then have a chance of making some money from that to save them on their electricity bills. And the legislative situation is that the local electricity bill could change this. It could be a game changer for all of us if it were to be successful. So yes, so we operate under standalone, small-scale owned and operated equipment, either operated by the organisation concerned and owned by them, or by community funding, which we could facilitate through our membership. Schemes can be complex. Legalities can come into it, whether the building, if it's a building, a rooftop kind of operation, or if it's land-based, whether that land or building is leased or owned outright. These sorts of things have to be considered. The technology actually isn't the issue. The barrier is usually the legalities and the arranged procurement facilities that exist already. But we are open to public-private partnerships. We think there could be a way through and around these barriers if they're of interest to the audience. And yeah, working together is what we seek to do to achieve clean growth.
Great.
Just some
Nigel,
examples.
Nigel, can I ask you to wrap up?
Yeah, sorry, just some other examples here of what's possible. I've already outlined them though, so I'll stop the presentation there. Thank you.
Super. And then you can catch up with Nigel in the chat. And I've just worked out, if you press file in the chat at the bottom, Nigel, you can upload your presentation.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you very much. And it's great that we've got an operating, established community energy organisation in Norfolk. So next, we're going to hear from the Association of Local Councils from Justin Griggs. So Justin, are you there?
I am. I'm just sharing my slides. Hopefully you can see them, Nigel. Let's get there. There we go. I'll endeavour to stick to time. It's normally my kids at home tell me off for when my stories go on a bit longer. So Ollie and Nigel, you kind of going to keep me to my my time. Thanks for having me. I'm Justin Griggs. I'm the Head of Policy and Communications at the National Association of Local Councils. We work with our brilliant network of the 43 county associations of local councils to support England's 10,000 parish councils. Some of my colleagues are on the call. They do an awesome job supporting our councils on a daily basis. Just want to give them a shout out. A few things I want to cover in my kind of whistle-stop tour around the things that councils are doing to take action on climate change. One is to reflect on the last year and the amazing response that parish and town councils, I think, made to the pandemic, really stepping up to support local communities at the start, since then, and will be a really important part of the recovery. I think that's a really example of localism in action, taking really local action on what are pressing national and, in fact, global challenges. And you can read more about the brilliant work that you've all been doing and councils have been doing on our website, on our coronavirus case studies page. But what that really, I think, highlights is the next pandemic, and what we're talking about today, and what increasingly councils are tackling, is around the pandemic of the climate emergency and climate change. And up and down the country, councils are declaring climate emergencies, working with others. I totally agree with what Nigel just said around working in partnership is absolutely vital to this and other agendas. And using that community leadership role to link in with communities and other groups to understand local needs and take action on climate change. This is a really important part of our work. You wouldn't be surprised as the years have gone by. Increasingly, we're aware of councils doing more in this space. There are three big areas of our work at the moment. Been around health and well-being, climate change, and young people. Kind of really big, important areas that parish councils are taking action on, in addition to the kinds of things that you would expect parish councils to be known for. We ourselves declared a climate emergency and put in place a number of things to take our work forward. One of those was setting up a task and finish group to really drive that work, really involving people from our councils and our networks that really know about this stuff. Some of you are on the call. I give a huge shout out to John Pennell for being involved in that and sharing a huge amount of insight and expertise. What that's really led to is driving a hub of support and information and good practice and research that's available for our councils. Here's a screen grab of our website. I think I've already put the link in the chat, and that'll be later on in my slides. What we also want to do is to identify any of those kind of barriers. What are the things that are stopping councils doing more and lobbying for change? The Environment Bill, I think, is a really important place to do that. And Nigel just mentioned the Electricity Bill, as well as providing, I think, a really good opportunity. In our case studies publication, there are a whole range of things that councils are doing. This is our first stab at the moment to capture stuff that's going on. If you're doing some of these things, do let us know, get in touch so we can share what you are doing on a national scale. But whether that's around biodiversity, carbon offsetting, green housing, electric charging points becoming very, very common and popular, green travel is something that, are the kinds of projects and initiatives that parish councils are absolutely well placed to lead on and work with their communities to take forward. Just a few examples to just kind of highlight what's happening across into the southwest. Frome Town Council, I think some of you may well know about Frome's work. I think they hold their environmental and sustainable credentials, really high on the list of their priorities, a real driving force of their work. So whether that's around funding for solar, sharing what they're doing with other councils, promoting green transport, they've got a sharing hub for household items so that people are sharing the tools that they've got rather than buying them themselves. And they're currently looking into a council-owned wind turbine, which I think is really interesting development for today's theme. And I think more closer to home, just two other examples I wanted to just briefly touch on that are in our coronavirus case studies publication. Felixstowe Town Council, EV charging points and partnering with the County Council through Plug-in Suffolk is something they're taking forward. Again, to discourage buying new, a repair cafe to repair tools and a library of things to enable easy borrowing between people. Like many councils, they're sourcing their energy from a renewable energy supplier and encouraging cycle to work schemes and car sharing. And then in Woodbridge, also in Suffolk, and there are other examples across the region that are in our case studies publication. Their Green Vein project is really much at the core of what they're seeking to do to restore and optimize green infrastructure. They've got a commitment to plant 250 trees a year. I'll say more about trees in a moment. They want to issue more tree preservation orders, make sure that any removed trees are replaced with new trees, and really, increase environmental citizenship. I think this responsibility that we all have, for building a sustainable future and the actions that we can all take in our own day-to-day lives. I mentioned trees, and I wanted to get this plug in, and here's a grab from local press in the east of England. Trees are really important to councils, really important part of, I think, of the climate change agenda and what we can do and we can take action on. Why they're important to our councils in particular is because they manage parks, open spaces, allotments and playing fields, and there's so many benefits to us all, and these are all the kinds of benefits that our councils absolutely will have at the top of their agenda for taking action on locally. Tree planting is a hugely popular way in which parish councils across the country are helping to deliver this. We've been really pleased to work with the Woodland Trust and other partners over the last few years through our Tree Charter project. More information is on our website, and more examples of what councils have been doing to plant trees and protect the natural environment. And you'll have all seen last week the Queen's Platinum Jubilee launched. To plant a tree for the Jubilee, there'll be free trees available from the Woodland Trust. So I think trees is one really easy example of how communities can take action themselves. Loads of people on the call today are parish and town councillors that are already kind of doing this stuff, inspiring others and sharing with others. But if you're not, there are ways to get involved in your communities. You can become a councillor, you can get involved in the work of your council. That's what our Make a Change campaign has been trying to do. So do get in touch with your parish council if you're not involved and you want to be involved. And for anyone that's on the call that doesn't have a parish council, then set one up. In every part of England, if you don't have a parish council, you can set up one so that you can take action on these kind of things. More information on that is on our website, including all of these links. So we've got links to resources that other organisations have developed, from Friends of the Earth to DEFRA. There's a climate action plan for councils. I've mentioned our colleagues at the Woodland Trust. There's a whole raft of resources on there. So do please make use of them.
Justin, thank you very much. Fantastic. It's great to see that. And will you try and upload your presentation into the file, into the chat?
I will. I'll pop that in the chat and I'll put some more links in.
It's a good little ditty, that. Well, that's fantastic. And I think, in summary, parish councils are really important in rural areas around looking at energy. The 6th carbon budget that the government put in place, is going to, we need to get to net zero, and being prepared as parishes and communities is really important. And we feel strongly that community energy is a big part of that. And a community energy, community benefit society or cooperative can work really well alongside a parish council. And, it's almost like a working group that you can use, and a different funding mechanism as well. So one of our highest costs as communities is energy, and we need to crack this nut. So with that, we're going to have 10 minutes of questions, and then we're going to go into some breakout rooms, and I'll take you into that in a minute, and then we'll come back together and just close off. So Liz, should we start the questions?
Start with Sally Longmate, because she had quite a few questions. I can see you there, Jill. I've got about 6 or 7 people.
Okay, let's start with Sally Longmate, and Jill had her hand up as well from Town of the Year. So Jill, we're coming to you. So Sally.
Hello, yes, good morning. I think sort of the main thing in my chat is about just working in partnership, really. Working with Nalc, we're part of the County Association network. We have town and parish councils of varying sizes. It's great to see all of this coming on board, but we need to translate it into actual things that parishes can do on the ground, that they can have a conversation about at their meetings, that they can learn to enable their communities to do stuff, and that there's a one-stop shop for information, because it is very challenging for a clerk on a few hours a week to actually find all of this out, as aspiring as a community might be. And we need to work a lot smarter. And I think most of my comments have been around that. That's it really. I haven't got any more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally, and thanks for your contributions in the chat. They've definitely not been unnoticed. So Jill,
Yep.
You're off mute, so far away.
And then
yeah, it's not a question, it's a piece of information that people might want. The SICON, S-I-C-O-N Foundation have a huge budget to plant trees in Suffolk and Norfolk and East Anglia, and they will give you the trees free. And their only stipulation is that they may come and see them at any time they want. And if you get struck by lightning or something like that, and they die, you have to let them know. But they certainly have been very good to us, and we're going to get over £1,000 worth of trees in September of our choice. So it's really good. And that if you Google them, you'll find them. You'll find their website.
Thank you very much, Jill. It'd be helpful if you've got it there, just to put it in the chat.
Yep, okay.
And then Parbeck Medical Development next.
Parbeck Medical.
It's Bob Parker, I'm Vice Chair of Trimley St Martin Parish Council. One of the things that concerns us, we have about 1,000 houses in our village, and with all the planning conditions or the planning consents that have been given, that's going to go to 2,000. So it's going to double. One of the things that concerns us is that all the planning applications are calling for houses that are going to have gas central heating, which is going to be obsolete in 2005. Not only is it going to throw out a lot of emissions and carbon, but at the same time, we're saying, why don't they go for group ground source heat pumps, which deliver very, very economical heating, and obviously will save on the environment. Our local authority, East Suffolk, which we suggested this to, seem to have still got their heads in the sand. Obviously, they're under pressure from the developers to try and go ahead, putting up as cheaper developments as they can, because obviously ground source heat pumps on a communal basis are more expensive. To me, this seems a terrific contribution to make to what we've been talking about this morning.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna call John Taylor to answer that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a really good question. And Bob Pryor, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so that is an issue we've seen across the region of this, gas still being put in for new developments, and we do think there is a potential business model there for community energy groups to partner with new build housing developers to take on the extra ambition for renewable energy, because I don't think they're going to do it unless they're going to be forced to through legislation. But certainly, if there's a way of a community energy group to finance a ground source heat pump system and then supply that heat to the eventual residents of that development, then it's something we'd be happy to explore and see if we can break some new ground there.
Thank you,
There
John.
are grants available, and Cambridge did a very, very big project.
Yeah, indeed they did. So, John, I think, on that point, you had a question from Phil and Jane Manning about the...
No, I think that should be answered in the breakout rooms, because there are other people, sorry to
Oh, yes, very good.
So I suggest we go to I suggest we go to Chris Payne, because he had a question in the chat box that looked very similar to things other people had been raising. So,
good.
Chris, could you...
Chris Payne and then...
Yes, I'm here. Hi, yes, I represent Ringshall Parish Council. I'm a relatively new councillor, and I was appointed chairman last week. The issue I have is that a lot of the councillors are really quite unenlightened, and I suspect a lot of the residents are too. And if I'm starting from scratch, how do I introduce the subject of getting solar panels on the village hall roof and so forth? Where, what's the best approach? Where can I go to start the journey?
Who's going to answer that?
Who's going to answer that? Perhaps John, do you want to have a...
Well, part of the RCEF programme is that the successful projects that we fund are supposed to then offer some peer support to new projects coming along. So as we get more people progressing through that, we'll be certainly linking up with Emma at Community Energy England. We are working with them to develop a Community Energy Hub how-to guide page on their website, where we'll feature case studies and then links of how to get going with this. And then I'm sure that's also something Community Energy South can offer as well. But yeah, by all means, get in touch with us, and we can put you in touch with people in your area or working on similar projects to you.
Can I also say that I've put in the chat box the link to the CSE impact tool, which is a really quick and easy way to put in your parish council details and see what the carbon emissions are of your local council, which I think is quite a good way to do consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, I found John's information, and also Nigel and Justin have been quite helpful. I can take some other way and look that up and try and get interest motivated. It's also about time as well. A lot of small parish councils, we have 7 parish councillors, and well, we should have 7, and we've got 6 at the moment. So it's quite, excuse me, it's quite difficult sometimes for people to devote the time that might be needed. So sometimes you feel as though you're out on a limb trying to introduce it, but obviously that's the skill of a chairman to try and motivate and introduce that, which I hope to do over time.
Yeah, so, and Chris, at the heart of this presentation is something called Community Energy Pathways. Mm-hmm. So we can support, the setting up of a community energy organisation. And in parishes, you've got to work out your housing type, your big energy users, your carbon footprint as a community, mm-hmm. Get as prepared as possible. Because, for energy, for electricity or renewable energy and for heat, the market is going to change. So my message to parishes and communities is be prepared so that when the market does change, you're ready to support your community in it. So I'm going to go to very patient Bob Pryor.
Thanks very much indeed. A number of issues that were brought up there. One particularly by the Don panel regarding planning departments and why they're not championing the energy saving or production in the applications that come through. We as a parish council, and I've sat on the planning committee for 4 or 5 years now, and we make comment about the lack of green energy coming through as part of the planning application. And in general, the planning application goes through, because we're only an advisory body, and very little attention is paid to us. And I think that may be the same case with John. On the subject of air source heat pumps, I live in a place where we have air source heat pumps, and I can thoroughly recommend them to all and sundry. Absolutely fantastic systems. They're different to operate, and it takes a while to get your head around it, but they're fantastic. And one last thing, actually, on, if I may, just to cover tree planting. I'm old enough to remember plant a tree in 73 and then plant some more in 74. And there's been campaigns going on ever since. So that's 50 years ago, I guess. Why has it all stalled? We should have been planting thousands and thousands of trees over the last 50 years. Where have they all gone? What's happened? So that's my contribution at the moment.
I'm just going to come off. Thank you very much, Bob. What we're going to do now is jump into our breakout rooms. Liz, do you want to?
So we have two breakout rooms. One is Ollie Pendered and Ellen Goodwin, and it's how you join pathways to community energy. So it's going to be more of a Q&A thing. There's no actual presentation. So if you've got questions about pathways to community energy, join the group, the Ollie Pendered and Ellen Goodwin group. And the other one is John Taylor, who's going to be supported by Alex Templeton on the Rural Community Energy Fund. So if you've got questions about how to finance projects, join room 2, the Rural Community Energy Fund. You should all be able to join the rooms by yourself. You should be able to take yourself into the room. And if you've joined by iPad or phone, you may not be able to, and so I can allocate you. But it looks like people are already assigning themselves to rooms. Ollie, you'd better go.
How do I get into my room then?
Your room, Ollie.
Oh, that's kind of you.
If I can work out how to do that. Where are you? Let's have a look at what you see on yours. Where does it say breakout room? Everyone else is joining.
Yeah.
Go to, where's more?
Oh.
I can't see, I can't choose one either. I presume I've already been ferried over, Liz.
Okay, let's have a look. Let me just find Ollie first, because I better send him.
No, Ollie's more important than me, absolutely.
Oh, no, that's the wrong person. Let's
Me and
go
Ellen.
to joining the pathway.
I can join over. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you, Liz.
I can join.
I think we're all left out, aren't we?
Yes, I think we are.
I'm trying to say it. I've just looked on my phone and it says click join.
Okay,
to join the breakout room,
Carpet Medical Development, where would you like to go? I can't hear your answer. Oh,
The rural one for me.
I can't hear anyone. Right. Okay, Hine, where would you like to go?
The rural group, please.
Oh, hang on
Me
a minute.
too.
Sorry, where would you like to go?
Rural group, please.
Rural group. Okay.
With John Taylor.
John Horsnell, where would you like to go?
Funding group, please.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Keith Dickinson, where would you like to go?
Group, please, number 2.
The Rural Community Energy Fund. I've sent
Yes.
you that. Yep. Okay. Lynn Ballard, where would you like to go?
I'd like to go to the one with John Taylor, please.
Okay. Right, you should end up there. Mark Lilly, where would you like to go? Oh, you.
Could I go to the pathways one, please?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you.
Okay. Who else is unmuted? Margaret Bleat, where would you like to go?
Pathways, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Martine, where would you like to go?
Rural, please.
Okay.
Rural. Thank you.
Patricia Taylor, where would you like to go?
Rural, please.
Okay. Peter Banks, where would you like to go?
The second one, please.
Oh, I can't.
John Taylor's group.
That's odd. I can't see one here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, okay. And Stuart, where would you like to go?
Yes, the rural one, please.
Okay. Sue Innes, where would you like to go?
Funding one, please.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Funding, please.
Funding, okay.
Thank you.
Claire Framsden, where would you like to go?
Pathways, please.
Okay. Phil Love, where would you like to go?
John Taylor, please.
Okay. You need to unmute yourself so I can allocate you. Otherwise, I won't hear where you want to go. Oh, Colin's gone. Right, so Julie Baker and Karen Brown. You have to unmute yourselves. And Andrew, I thought I'd asked you, maybe I've sent you to the wrong place because sometimes it jumps about.
No, you've
I'm
not asked me yet.
sorry. I'm sorry, Liz. I've had terrible trouble trying to get into the meeting this morning.
Oh, I'm so yes.
Only just got in, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think a lot of people have had difficulty. I think I think Zoom has changed our account. I think they've updated the settings. So we had 165 people registered, but only it looked like they limited it so only 100 people could join. So, which is really disappointing. So we're wondering if we're going to have to run it again, actually. So, Julie, would you like to join the session about pathways or the session about? Pardon?
Hopefully, because I've missed it, and it sounds really interesting. So I'm sorry I missed you.
No, well, I think the problem was the fault was entirely ours. So I'm sorry you've had a difficult morning. I've just put you into a different group. Andrew, where would you like to go?
You've given me pathway. Not because I'm not sure whether we are a pathway and we're not rural.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you can join whichever group you want, really.
I don't know, wherever's useful. Karen's the same. She's with me.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can just put yourself in rooms. Pathways is just how the pathways work, and I guess Ollie will be able to tell you if you're in the pathways or not. It's probably worth speaking to Ollie because we have done quite a lot of work with Essex.
Okay, put us both in there then. I'll go myself if you can do Karen for me, please.
Okay, let me see if I can find you. Where are you? Oh, he's gone. Right. Julie, you should be able to join the room. Have you had... I can't instruct you from here how to do it because I see something different.
Okay, I think I'll bow out gracefully if that's okay, because I seem to have been.
Go and have a sweet cup of tea. It just sounds like it's been a really horrible, stressful morning, actually.
Bless your heart. Okay, I'll join you next time then. Thank you.
Do that. And also we're recording it, so it will be recorded.
It will. If you could send me the recording, I'd love you forever.
I'll definitely send you the recording too. And I'm really sorry you've had such a challenging morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. So Karen Brown, let's see if I can send Karen assigned to joining the pathway. And so we're left with Colin, who's on silent. Oh, Lindsay Hayward Smith has returned. Lindsay, where do you want to go? You'll have to unmute yourself so I can hear your answer.
I'm just going to apologise. I'm afraid I've got to leave. I just want to
okay. Well,
somebody,
thank you so much
and
for coming.
it's been really brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, great.
To ask, will we get copies of the slides?
You can download the slides from now. If you scroll through the chat box, each set of slides has got a little arrow on it, so you can download it directly right away. Otherwise, we will put them on our website, but it takes us a bit of time to get them up on the website. And also, I'll send you the recording. Well, in fact, we put the recording on YouTube, so you'll be able to access the recording off YouTube.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you so much. It's been really helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ali from East Essex, what do you need from us? And you have to unmute yourself. Or not? Okay, well.
Okay. I was just looking to see if our local councillor was in the other room to see if she'd stayed. So if you excuse me a minute, I'll.
Yeah, just do what you need to do. Don't let me pressure you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to chat to Colin, and also I want to say hello to Frank Gordon because I can't see if that's the Frank that I know.
Hi, Liz. Yeah, hi.
Oh, I recognise that voice.
Good event. Thanks for the invite. Could I possibly go into room 2, please? I sent a little private message.
Of course. Oh, I'm sorry. It's been so hectic. Oh, you want to? Well, it's really nice to see you here. We ought to, catch up. Tell me what you're up to. Are you still at the REA?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but possibly moving to East Anglia in a few months, actually. So.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Catch up about the local.
Okay.
Possibly moving into the local area.
Cool.
So looking to find out about the local energy scene. So.
Okay, I'll send you off to that room and then we'll catch up.
Yeah, maybe we can catch up afterwards.
Yeah, okay, great. Nice to see you. Bye.
Can you hear me?
You should be allocated. And now I have to say hello to Colin. Oh, Frank, have you not gone? I can still see.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
What's happened with, oh, he has, oh no, he just switched.
Yeah, you were frozen there for a moment, Liz.
Oh, was it me? It was. Oh, I had to go into the kitchen because Ollie and I were talking over each other.
There might be an issue with somebody's broadband connection here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a broadband connection here too, because you're slightly frozen too. Can't really see you very well. And Frank doesn't seem to have joined his room. Maybe you've all frozen.
Yeah, you're also frozen there for a moment.
What a shame. Oh yeah, it keeps telling me my internet connection is unstable. I came into work specifically for a good internet connection. Do you want me to allocate you to a room, Colin?
Several of you in the room. Sorry?
Do you want me to allocate you to a room? I made you wait till the very end.
Oh, well, yeah, you could put me into the pathways room, yes.
Okay, all right. Nice to see you anyway. Well, it'd be good to catch up sometime.
Nice to see you too, Liz.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. That was, we were having a really good discussion next door in the community energy room with Ellen, which I think could have carried on so for a long time. I just wanted to summarize and just hear from very quickly, John and Alex, I assume you were having the same experience.
Yeah, some very good questions coming through. Yeah, we filled up the whole time. Hopefully, yeah, we managed to answer everyone's queries, and there's a few things to follow up on in terms of sharing emails and.
Great. Okay, so just to sum up, this event is part of the Eastern New Energy Project, which is a European funded, the last of the EU funded sort of projects to look at new energy across the region. We'd love to help support the sector across Suffolk and Norfolk and establish new community energy groups. I think what we're going to do afterwards is the team will get together and we'll put together a questionnaire and issue it all out to you all, just to give you the opportunity to, have your say, but also feedback if you are interested in the Pathway programme and to help get supported to set up a community energy group. And then probably we'll look at another event in the coming month or so where we can more masterclass specialists in a specific area. But I'm just going to ask if any of the other team want to follow up on that, or Alex Templeton. You're just on mute, Alex.
Just like to say is if you're thinking of doing a project or you're interested in tree planting or you're thinking of doing something else around a climate emergency, do get in touch with us. We have a very large team. We cover East Anglia and the Southeast, and we are funded to support you at no cost. So just please get in touch and we'll have a discussion.
Can I just add something in here, Ollie?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
yep.
So I'm aware that there's a number of overlapping groups here with interests in the same geographic region. And I'm thinking that it would be good for us to work together as well as asking everyone else to work together. So yes, please bear that in mind when you're creating your questionnaires. Thank you.
Make sure you thank Justin. Well, I'll do it. I just want to say, I just want to thank all the speakers for participating. I was telling Ollie to thank them, but I thought it'd just be quicker for me to thank the speakers.
Very good.
I'll hand back to Ollie now.
Yeah, no, and also really, Justin, Griggs and Emma Bridge, really grateful that you're joining this call and, adding into that debate. So thank you very much. I think with that, we will follow up with everybody through a questionnaire. So please look for an email from us around that. And if you'd like to stay on, I think some people will stay on for a chat and sharing ideas, but otherwise I will close the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you can save what's in the chat box as well. Remember to save the chat box if you want, because there's been lots of really useful links popped into the chat box. So do make sure you save it. Click on the three little buttons and it'll say save chat, and you can save it to your computer. And if you want to stay in chat, I think our speakers have to go, but if anybody wants to stay and network with each other, I can certainly leave the room open for you to talk. If you've got similar things going on that you want to figure out, we can leave the room open, and I can even create some breakout rooms if there are a lot of people staying on.
Happy to stay on for another 10 to 15 minutes if anyone wants to discuss community energy with Norwich Community Solar. Myself.
Great, thank you, Nigel.
Please stay, Ollie. Yeah, good idea. Is Sally staying in the room? Good.
I can do, just for a short amount of time, but I can do, yeah.
Same with me, Sally.
And just add, with my non-work hat on, I live in Ipswich and yeah, would like to do community energy stuff locally. So
sunshine. What's the name of your group in Ipswich, John?
Well, we did have a go at this a few years ago with funding from the Urban Community Energy Fund when it existed. We set up a group called Sunrise Community Energy, which kind of looked at Ipswich and East Suffolk being the Sunrise Coast. So we managed to get, we did some rooftop solar with the University in Ipswich and with St Elizabeth's Hospice as well. They ended up funding it themselves rather than it being community funded because of we set it up exactly as the government decided to cut the feed-in tariff. So nice idea, but terrible timing. But very keen to give it a go now that it seems to be becoming a viable way of working again. So yeah, it's something I'm interested to do in my spare time too.
Okay, well, I'm going to, I've made a Norwich Community Energy Room, which I'll put you in, John, and I've made a John and Sally Room. So if anybody wants to join either of those, Nigel, I'll put you in the Norwich Community Room. If there are any other topics that people want to discuss, let's see if I can do this. John, I need to put you in the, where have I got to put you in? Oh, I need to put you in the, oh, can you put yourself in the Norwich room?
I just wanted to say, John Pennell, I've got your email address.
Okay, good. I'm going to put a link in the chat, but I'm not quite sure where the chat's going these days because once you go into breakout rooms, you lose it. But I spoke to a conference in Canada fairly recently, and it actually explains what we're trying to do and what I think we should all be trying to do. So I'm going to put that in the chat now, hopefully. And you can download it. It's me speaking. It's about 17 minutes long. It'll take a few minutes to download. But I promise you, it explains better what we in Norfolk are trying to do than almost anything I've can't get the chat. Yes, I can. But it really does explain what we're trying to do, and I think it's a pattern that we need to follow. You might enjoy the chat too. That's just a link to a website where we put stuff up for people to download.
Super, got it.
Okay.
I'm trying to work out how to make a room for Essex because I've been asked to make a room for Essex. So yeah, John, sorry, I've made a room for you two. Oh, but actually it looks like nobody's actually joined any of these rooms I've made.
Well, I'm just going to join whatever you put me into, Liz. So okay. Off I go. Bye from here, and I'm going to the room.
Okay.
I'm going to stay here.
I'm going to have to leave. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
It was very enjoyable. I have another meeting that I'm late for. Thank you.
Okay,
bye -bye.
thank you very much. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, Aurélie.
Gonna say, Liz, if there's only a few of us left, just leave us in here because
Yeah,
most people are going rather than break out.
The room and I was on my own, so I come back.
I'll just close all these and put you all in there, and I'll leave it as a free for all. I think Ollie wants to go, don't you, Ollie?
I think you'll need to bring John back because he's gone into the room with me and I haven't gone. That's not intentional, honestly.
Together, that's interesting. His link together for Norfolk.
Yeah, I was on my own, so.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
I went and came back as well. I think we're all here actually, so that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you are all back.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think John Pennell is back. I think
he'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, I've clearly stood him up. Yeah, I've stood him up.
It took me a while to work it out, how to come back.
I think they can be reassigned.
So I've just closed the rooms. So yeah, so there's a few of you left. If you have stuff you want to share.
I mean, I've actually got to go shortly because I've got something else coming up. But really from the Suffolk Association of Local Councils point of view, hello, John. I'm sorry I stood you up, didn't I? But I was open and honest about it. We decided to keep this as a central room. So obviously Suffolk wanted to do an event like this, and we kind of pushed it. We got the offer for there being a wider event, which is great, and I was really pleased there's so many people here. I mean, you could see it from some of the things, and obviously the chat that I've put in. It's about everyone taking small steps together, and I've always said that, and about partnerships, and all of the words and the aspiration are really good, and I think people will be buzzing after the event. But we've got, you know, a lot of parishes in both Suffolk and Norfolk. We work in partnership with Essex and others in the region anyway. I think all tiers of the sector should be looking at this, and I'm damn sure they all are, but none of it is glued together. And as John will know, I talk about joining the dots up. So the DNA in terms of this subject matter, if you were to map that out, you would see that there's no wonder that new parish councillors or clerks with only a few hours a week will look at something like this and think, where on earth do I start? And it's that type of transformational stuff, it's that operational stuff that we're dealing with as county associations day in and day out. The strategic stuff I love all of this, but it's translating it into something that's real on the ground. And that's really what I'm very much interested in doing, whether it be the next follow-up workshop is right, you know, a very simple heading, right, where do I start? And Ollie has said about a masterclass. It is that type of thing that progressively we grow, and we change and grow and change and grow, rather than looking at what others have done and think, wouldn't it be great if I could do that?
This is it, Sally, and you have to adapt it to a local area. But what we find, so we're 3/4 of the way through a pathways program in Hampshire, where they only have one group. What we did was we went out with a questionnaire across Hampshire. We sifted out the interest from the groups, and then we've done a mentoring program with those groups. We now have established 5 working communities. And we've created a network, and hopefully lots of young people as well. So, and it's in creating that network. So it's a step-by-step approach. And you're absolutely right. So, you know, perhaps it might be having a discussion with yourself and John about, you know, who's joined the call and how we bring that network together.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay, so if I can just join in there.
In the chat, Sally.
Sorry, Ollie, I didn't hear that.
You put your email in the chat.
Yeah, will do.
Right, sorry, Sally.
I just dropped into the chat a map of what we're trying to achieve in joining together. Some people have seen this before, but we work at a really interesting level within Norfolk ALC, working with lots of organisations within Norfolk. And it's really building and coming together much more strongly than I could ever believe when we set out on this route. And it shows how we expect the parishes also to build their own networks within there, using the resources of our national association. Thanks for sharing it. And it really is what we're trying to do. And the big coup that we have is that in that top level, we now have the full support of Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant of Norfolk. And she is now our patron. She asked to become our patron because she could see what we were doing. And this has been moved us forward another whole step forward, because she's able to open doors that we were never able to open ourselves. And this is really the key to getting it all together. And of course, she and her husband, Lord Dannatt, are incredibly concerned about climate change. And so we now have put together a very powerful alliance right at the top, where we're no longer the junior partner. We are considered a fundamental part of the structure of all of these organizations, which is a real wow. And it's down to our wonderful county secretary, who is the equivalent of Sally in Suffolk, that this has all happened. But it really is, I think, the way we've got to go, because these are the forces for good, and we're trying to join them all together. And I think we are getting somewhere along the route. Sally came to our AGM last week, couldn't believe how well it went, and all sorts of things like that we're doing. And Sally and I try to work together as much as we can. That's enough from me, but I'm really impressed by what's happened today.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. I think that's brilliant. You know, and to me, you've just drawn me a real picture of what's the potential is in Norfolk, but also to understand that Sally is there as well, and that you work together. So, you know, it's big pieces of the puzzle. Totally agree with your strapline that we're stronger together. You know, that's something that we've embedded in the community energy sector, in fact, because we're cooperatives and we
nicked that slogan from Sally. It's all her credit, not mine. I just nicked it.
Oh, well done, Sally. There you go. Honesty.
Yeah.
Breath polishing. Great. Okay, so I'm going to have to head off just very shortly. Is anybody else? You're very welcome to continue.
I just wanted to say before we go, Ollie, I think it's a really good, certainly from my perspective, from John and Sally in terms of how we can perhaps take this forward in Norfolk and Suffolk and perhaps with Essex as well. So perhaps through Liz and the people who we had the initial phone call with to organise today, we sort of take that forward with Nalc and Suffolk and possibly the Essex equivalent. I don't even know how you'd say Essex Association of Local Councils in an abbreviated version, but let's just see about how we can sort of take it forward, because I think it's been really good today.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, really.
I think it's EALC and
EALC, okay.
And Justin Griggs from our national association is one of the really good guys around. He's very, very foresightful.
I could tell. I thought he was excellent. So Peter,
I just came to this today. I've had a long-term interest in climate change. I gave a presentation in my youth at a university and wondered why nothing was happening for nearly 40 years.
Me too, Peter.
I'm pleased it is now. And I'm very pleased I've come to this meeting today, and I'm going to send an email to Alex Templeton with a picture of our Riddle Sports and Social Club roof. Maybe we'll get solar panels on there, who knows? But practical advice and practical help, I'm very impressed.
Great, well done, Peter. Good to hear. Well, and email John Taylor as well. See if you can get involved with the Rural Community Energy Fund on that.
Peter, if you go to Norwich Community Solar's website, which is norwichcommunitysolar.com, you'll see on the About page, there's a flow chart that lists a lot of the considerations that you need to go through with your community energy or energy provider in order to set a project up. I hope that will be helpful to answer some of the questions you might have.
I just mention two things before we all depart. One is we have partnered as an organisation, that's Norfolk ALC, with a company called Geeky, G-I-K-I, which does the best community-based carbon CO2 emission monitoring projects of all. It's there. It's a community interest company. It's run by guys who are really committed to providing good information and encouraging people. It's a fantastic tool. It doesn't just understand that a house has a carbon footprint at a moment in time. It understands that that carbon footprint will change as the inhabitants change, as lifestyles change, as people go through the lifestyles. They also recognizes the carbon footprints of the individuals within the house. And it also, importantly, can manage the use of water, because water is going to become an increasingly important resource, not only for farming and community and domestic, but also for the revival of nature. We've got to make sure that it gets back there. So Geeky is a huge part of what we're going to do. And the other one is that we've organized with the greenest energy company we could find to provide extra resources back into the community, like purchasing power at good prices, etc., with and some discounts for our members. So these are things that can be done as well, which tend to cohere the community.
John, could you please put the?
Okay.
Could you put the? No.
If you look at my talking calendar, you'll see all this anyway.
I was gonna say, could you put the link into the chat box?
Geeky and good energy. I can try and find it on my computer. Ollie.
But yeah, I think what John says is good, because certainly in the run up to COP26, public engagement is going to be really crucial, and I think parish councils are really well placed to lead that, because some of the stuff we were talking about today is quite advanced, but certainly the big challenge over the next few years is educating people about heat pumps, get them off heating oil, and showing that electric cars can be rural cars, not just urban cars as well, and yeah, making sure that's all tied together with increased local energy generation, and yeah, so showing.
We're running a campaign called Cut a Ton in 21 to coincide with the incidents of COP number whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really important.
I put a link in the chat to
Liz, can you email me and then I'll give you the contact details and you can talk to these companies directly. Okay.
I'll put a link
because
in the chat.
I won't be able to find it in time on my computer.
I have put a link in the chat to a parish carbon footprint tool, which may be of interest. Organised by the CSE and Bays, so it may still be under development, but you'll find some information about it there.
Yeah, what we're trying to do, Nigel, is to standardise across Norfolk on one system, because that will enable us to get the carbon footprints back to the parish, and they can see the parish totality of what they're achieving graphed over time. Yeah. So it's rather important that we don't split the tool use between two providers unless we can get some interoperability, and that's sort of a vision moving forward, is that we want to try and get parish councils to monitor their whole footprint, and we measure the footprint in such a way that we say to the parish, not only have you got to account for what you produce, but you've got to account for what you import into the parish as well. So all the goods that come from overseas, you've got to take those into account when you calculate your carbon footprint, which should be 0 by 2050.
Yep. That tool, I think I'll find the link for you.
If you just Google Geeky, you'll find it. It just will top of your list.
Just
I need to make a move now.
Can I ask? We've got Zach from Energy for All on the call. Zach, hello. We haven't heard from you today. I just wonder if you could say hello.
Hi. Sorry, I've had some IT problems. I'm currently on my phone because the laptop internet went down.
Oh,
good conversation from the bits I've picked up.
Oh, good. Excellent. Well, good to have you all along.
Oh, thank you, Nigel.
I really got to go, so I'm going to say goodbye. I've got so much piled up during the meeting that I'd better say goodbye. And thank you so much, everybody, for the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
Ciao, John.
I'll just remember to save the chat.
Yes, definitely, with all those links. Actually, I also need to go, but if you want to stay on, I can just hand over the hosting to Alex.
I've got to go on another meeting in a couple of minutes, Liz. So.
Okay, so I think, we've done really well. We will, Ellen, Alex and I and Liz will get together and then, send out I think a follow-up questionnaire to everybody that attended.
Yes.
But thank you very much. It's been wonderful. See you all again and look out for the next steps.
Thank you, guys.
John and
Thank you.
Alex, we're stronger together.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Take care.